Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today is February 12th, 2024. We'll call this meeting in order at 7:32 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin is absent. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas-Barza? Here. Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we start our reports this evening, here we go. We had a presentation on here by S&P. Are they here? SP, you gentlemen? This is under Public Work and Boat Launch. Who's got that committee tonight?
Trustee Murphy?
That would be me.
Trustee Murphy, could you introduce this, please, number 2 on your agenda?
Sure. We have a presentation by SP Plus regarding electronic payment for the boat launch. Gentlemen, you can step up to the microphone.
There's a mic up there, right? Somebody said, too, did you have like a PowerPoint or something like that?
We did send a PowerPoint, yes.
Okay. Reg, probably on that. Or you got paper copies?
We have paper copies if you'd rather just take those.
What, the paper's good. Yeah. That's right, Chief. He's got paper
Oh, we have
copies.
paper copies. Pretty short and sweet.
Great.
Thanks.
I'm Don Barnes. This is Matan Suleimani. SP Plus.
Thank you.
It used to be Standard Parking, if you remember that name,
Mm-hmm.
in the city.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yep, it's on. You got to talk.
It's not close enough. Got it.
Yeah.
So the gist is, we saw how you collect payments at your boat launch, and we figured we could help with making it a much better system. There's a lot of things we can do. We had a short meeting with Becky and a couple of other people, and basically what would happen is we would install a sign. You guys could remove that blue box where people put envelopes with cash in it. We just put a sign up there and have a QR code with ways to pay with their smartphone. And so basically, it's usually used for parking in a preferred space, but we can certainly use it for this purpose. So obviously you see here the first page is what you have now. Second page is kind of what it would look like. It was the best thing we could do with our Photoshop. But if you remove the blue box and you just install that sign, people can scan the sign. It takes them to a landing page. They put in their information. They put in their license plate. They put in their credit card information, and then they pay. I mean, it's pretty that simple. Now, we make our money. We had a 99-cent service fee, so there's no cost to the village. We take 99 cents. You guys get the boat fee like you normally do. We take 99 cents for each transaction.
Okay. Who polices this? How do we know who paid and who didn't?
Well, that gets to, there's many other things we can do.
Mm-hmm.
We can install cameras, license plate recognition cameras, all kinds of stuff. The idea was to start simply with the sign, and you guys monitor it the way you're doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming someone is monitoring it, they could look up who has paid, and it would give them the list of license plates who have paid to be in the lot. So then if there's someone in the lot that has not paid,
Right.
they could give them a citation.
Okay. So it's 99 cents per transaction, and then, we've got a green space that's across it. Have you been over to that location?
Yes.
So the green space that's across the driveway is we just put that together just in the past year. That was a grant we had through Morton Arboretum, and it's 2.5 acres of green space that's in there, and wildflowers and whatnot. We're certainly not charging folks to, much like a park, you know, you're not charging folks to walk into a park. How would the parking differentiate? How would anybody know who's in the green space and who's docking a boat?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of discussed that. We don't really know how you would know between who's in the green space and who's been using the boat launch and are in the lot. We did discuss possibly designating some spaces for just the green space and using the rest of the lot for the boat launch. So then anyone who's parked in the green space, I don't know how you patrol that other than watching someone walk back and forth, right?
Right. You know, during peak hours, we typically have, certainly we've got attendants out there. We've got 2 people right now that are part-timers that are out there from, let's say, late April, or like May 1 until November 1, more or less, right? Mike, is that about it? Okay. So, obviously, their job has been to collect fees and oversee the launch. Obviously, this is just an app for collection purposes and stuff yet, too.
Correct, yeah.
But, and right now, Mike Fredder's our Public Work Director, Superintendent. Mike, we have what, a CSO that goes through the parking lot periodically to collect the monies? And it's kind of just a simple process right now. They've got their license plate written on their envelope, and that's who's in there and stuff then, too, right? Right. Okay. So, I didn't want to, go ahead, trustees, if you had any questions.
Yeah, if you have staff, obviously, they can be the person that checks the lot, right?
Right.
They can see the list of license plates, so.
Right.
So my understanding is the staff would still be there, they're just not collecting any monies. Is that what we're
If-
going
if-
with, or is this going to be a savings where we eliminate the staff and then just going by the app and what's collected by the app? What's the goal, other than to clean it up and bring it to the 21st century?
Well, obviously, what you gentlemen do is, this is a typical parking lot application and stuff here, too, right?
So, yeah, there are, like I talked about, we could, if you wanted to automate everything, right? It's possible that we could put license plate recognition cameras. Now, you need power and you need internet out there, right? But you've got that long entry and exit. You'd really only need one in and one out. There's a cost to that, but it would certainly save you. I'm not sure what you pay the attendants for the season.
Well, my concern is that it's a park, essentially. We have personnel out there who maintain it, oversee it. Then certainly we don't want, with a significant investment that the Morden Arboretum had made for it, we certainly don't want transient people out there doing unscrupulous things, let's just put it, and keep it orderly and nice. And having an app collecting monies is not going to help that. So we would still need personnel to maintain that.
True. If that's the goal, if you want to keep staff there to control the area, that's great. We were just trying to find a better way, other than people putting whatever they have in their pocket in an envelope, because a lot of people don't carry cash anymore. We saw it, we thought this would help.
Right.
Yeah.
So to clarify then, when someone utilizes the app, it's just your transaction fee is 99 cents?
Yep. Yes.
That's it?
That's it, yes.
And that's one option that's available to us. And then you have the other items that you've listed in the PowerPoint as an add-on.
Right, as down the line, if you think things are working right, or you want to add more to it, those other things can happen, yes.
Are there any, like, startup fees?
No, we'll pay for the sign to put up. There's no cost to you.
And I attended the Christkindle Market in Aurora. I made the drive out there to avoid Chicago, the parking over there. But there was scan the app. I think it was like actually a box. I can just put in my, punch in my license plate, and then there was police presence there just to guide traffic and so forth. So there still might be a need for personnel. But then, like you said, who carries cash as well? And then I didn't, just seeing the picture of the envelopes of cash there, I'm not sure if it's safe, or if we've ever had any issues in the past
No.
of trying to, okay.
I think it goes in a drop box.
It's got a slot, it's got a
once
drop
in the
box
envelope.
with
Okay.
a lock to it, yes.
Okay.
I think one of the concerns, just from talking to the girls in the office, is, like you said, not everyone carries cash, so sometimes there's an empty envelope. So that, because they see, like, a camera's going to see them put something in there, so they think, you know, they scribble something, or they don't, there's no envelopes, and they roll it up in a piece of paper, or it's like 5 cents and not whatever it's supposed to be. So I think just trying to make it more consistent to where people are paying what they're supposed to be, and not everyone carries cash. This might simplify it for some people that they can just do it on their phone.
And the other thing is, you don't, well, until you collect those envelopes, you don't know who's paid, right? So at this, once they paid with this, it's all, the license plate's going to show up on the list right away. Anyone can check it every other minute if they wanted.
So, again, as Trustee Murphy was saying, for all practical purposes, I'm just speaking for myself, I like the idea of having an attendant out there. We've got full functioning washrooms, we have, you know, bass tournaments once in a while, things like that. So, and not to mention, in the event of any kind of emergency, we actually just saw one happen out there two seasons ago where a young man, I don't think he has a car all the way in park, the car and the boat and everything slid into the canal, you know, and God forbid somebody was in the back seat or whatever, but at least somebody standing there maybe could have called for help right away and everything, because we had to get wreckers out there and everything else. His boat floated away and all that kind of good stuff. But I like the idea of having personnel out there. Having an app wouldn't hurt. The only thing for us, though, would be whether or not the board wants to, right now, we're competitive with the neighbor, Worth, Illinois, and right now we both charge the same dock fees, you know, to drop your boat in the water and stuff. So this could present a problem where we have to raise our fee to cover this, you know, that kind of thing too. So,
Well, it's, our discussion with Becky was, as long as it's a service fee, which is what this is, that's what she was concerned about, raising your fee too. You wouldn't have to raise the fee. Obviously, everyone's paying the 99 cents, right? But
Sure.
it's not part of the fee that they're paying. They're paying a service fee on top of the fee.
right, and not that it's your folks' concern, but we know, because that's a leased property from MWRD, we actually have to remit 25% of that back to MWRD. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is basically a community service is what this whole portal is that's out there and stuff.
Sure.
For the benefit of the community, both the park and the boat launch and stuff within too. So certainly the committee can talk about this as far as how we want to model it. But I want to go back real quick to, if somebody's using a QR code to pay for this, who is seeing that information to police, like however many boats? Let's say we got 10 boats in the parking lot. Who knows who paid and who didn't?
Well, we'd give access to your employees there. That'd be the best, or anyone could have access to the list. They can log in and see who's paid. Yeah.
Okay.
And who eats the credit card fee?
Credit card fee, is that in our fee?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of our 99 cents.
Okay. All right. Well, certainly.
So basically, I mean, walk me through this. I'm going to go to the boat launch and park and bring my boat there. I'm going to take a picture of this code here. Now, the payment goes to your company and we get reimbursed? Is that how this is going to work?
Correct, yeah. We would collect all the money, but then we send you a check every month. Or AC, however you prefer to get your payments. So they can, if you look at the sign, this isn't obviously the sign for the thing, but they can either scan the QR code, which would take them to the page, or they could text to that number, and they could actually pay through text.
Could somebody on our end monitor payments received via mobile, like a mobile app?
Oh, of course. Yes, yes, yes.
I see this as a convenience.
So do I. And I've seen other municipalities also, like I mentioned, Aurora. It was a very nice into the parking lot, punch my license plate, pay with my credit card, and then out.
I mean, looking at this is prehistoric. I mean, that steel box looks pretty rusted and dilapidated, but looks kind of an eyesore. But yeah, I don't know. I do see it as a convenient.
Oh, Totally agree.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
extra cost to us besides, I mean, there is no extra cost to us from what I'm hearing. It's just that the customer has to pay a 99-cent service fee.
Well, no, now we'd be willing to accept $1 less, is the thing, because we're going to give $1 to that process, unless we want to raise it $1.
No. The fee is still what the fees are. It's the service fee would be.
Oh, I
added
see
on.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're just going to put a fee on your car, I see, on the process.
But there
Okay.
still is a difference, though, because if you go to the neighbor west, you're paying $10 a day.
Right,
Come to us, you're paying $10.99.
right. Understood, right, okay. Yeah, I don't have anybody else have any other questions? All right, you know, gentlemen, thanks for coming out, and we'll certainly talk about this in a more of a committee scenario as far as what we want to do. We don't even open the launch until April 1st, and not to have to tee off that same day, but we'll see what we can, if the board agrees on that process. So thank you for explaining that, too, because sometimes, like anything else, that's a great question Trustee Prada had, too, is you're going to handle it, rebate back the difference and stuff then, too, and then, we'll go from there. So it's not like necessarily coming out of our side of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't like, unless you like committee meetings and stuff, yeah, too, so. You also. All right, we'll go back to our agenda then, starting with my report first. First on your agenda this evening, you've got a request to amend portions of the the Village of Alsip ordinance, Chapter 15 and a half personnel. This is going to reflect, looking at Section 15 and a half, 16, that's residence requirements for village personnel, and B, Section 15 and a half, 44, village fleet management for take-home vehicles. I put something in everybody's mailbox just for what I'm proposing here, and I'll try and get through this so folks in the audience, and we videotape YouTube all of our meetings here yet too at the same time. Municipalities commonly require as a term and condition of employment that municipal employees be residents of a city or town from whom they're employed. The citizens and elected officials often press for residency requirements on claims that it is a benefit to the community for employees to be residents. The theory is that employees who are residents are more committed to the community, they pay taxes to the community, own homes, use schools, and participate in civic life. However, such requirements put a large burden on public employees who lose choice in where they can live. If family wants to live together, a spouse or partner may be limited in where he or she can work. Children are limited to where they can attend school, and the employee may be unable to be close to a part of his or her extended family, including caring for parents or other family members in need. Given these important competing interests, there's been a great deal of litigation concerning residency obligations. Generally, dormant residency requirements can be enforced despite a history of non-enforcement or lax enforcement. Such lax enforcement does not establish a clear or unequivocal intention on the part of the employer to forever relinquish its contractual rights with respect to residency. However, individuals who moved believing they were not required to be residents might be permitted to remain non-residents on the reliance of theory. During last year's employee engagement here in the village, none of the department heads said they were capable of grooming a successor due to residency requirements, as none of their employees most of their employees, I should say, live in the village of Alsip. Should any of these department heads leave unexpectedly, the village may struggle to find an adequate successor. Because of the aforementioned and other similar issues with residency, as mayor, I'm recommending an amendment to these ordinances which offers residential opportunities and offers an incentive to retain or establish village. Well, actually, I didn't want to go there with retain. I don't have any offers on that. That was a thought, so my bad. That's a typo and stuff. I'm actually here to promote the idea of having personnel now that are required. Like right now, we've got an ordinance that requires all appointed personnel to live in the village. That same personnel, at some point through attrition, they're going to be retiring, and the folks that come up behind them will start with police and fire. Right now, their contracts allow them to live anywhere in the state of Illinois. You cannot deny someone an opportunity for promotion based on residency. There actually, state law says residency requirements in effect at the time an individual enters police or fire service of a municipality other than a municipality that has over 1 million inhabitants cannot be made more restrictive for that individual during his period of service for that municipality, or be made a condition of promotion except for the rank of fire or police chief. And that's the Illinois compiled statute 65 ILCS 510-2, chapters, paragraphs 1 through 6. What I'm suggesting or recommending, board, is that regarding the police department applications, applicants for the position of police department, the way it's written right now in our ordinance, says applicants for the position of police department and members of the police department of the village not need be residents of the village at the time such as at the application. Nothing contained in this section shall prevent the village from requiring the police chief or deputy chief from being a village resident. Same thing to be said for the fire chief and deputy chief. As far as the water commissioner, the public work superintendent, and the building commissioner, right now, these are, actually, Mike, public works is not an appointed position, is it? It is what? Oh, okay. I double-checked that one time. I thought yours, for some reason, was a hire, not an appointment. Okay. So, anyway, what I'm recommending is personal, right now our ordinance says a personnel employed by the village shall live within a 25-mile radius of the village's corporate boundaries within 6 months of completion of being hired. What I'm suggesting is that as opposed to having personnel live, appointed personnel have to live within the village, we have to think a little bit deeper for the succession. And what I'm saying is, instead of saying all appointed personnel, I'm saying the following employees must live within 25 miles of the village corporate limits. And that would be certainly our fire chief and deputy chief, police chief and deputy police chief, the building commissioner, the water department superintendent, the public works superintendent, and I had the director of emergency preparedness, but that can be up for discussion. Of course, we should call on him in the event of emergency. We don't need him living in Springfield, so a 25-mile radius would be helpful. And certainly the police lieutenants right now have to live in town, but I'm suggesting, recommending that the police lieutenants follow the same collective bargaining agreements in effect of when they were a sergeant. If they were coming up to be a lieutenant, they stay in the same residential abilities that they have now, like they can live anywhere in the state of Illinois. And then the last page I put in here for everybody was with regard to use of take-home vehicles. Should the board wish to impose a tax? Well, first off, let's go back to fleet management. Well, it starts at the top, section 15.544. When you're on call, certain village employees are required to be on call and are allowed to use a village vehicle to drive to and from work. Employee families are not allowed to ride in the village vehicle. The village vehicle is to be used for village business only. Personal use of the village vehicle is not allowed. The employees using village vehicles for emergency purpose must follow department procedures. And then we have a marking of village vehicles. This is part of the same ordinance. All non-emergency village vehicles must be marked, indicating that it is a village vehicle in the department that it's assigned to. And that's per ordinance. And I just want to make a note and say that should the board wish to impose a tax, for allowing non-first responders access to take-home vehicles, please consider the following tax template. And I got this from our finance director, Maria Alexichuk. And that's to say that this is a general rule under IRS that police and fire may be excluded if they are determined to be always on call working. Otherwise, number one on here was we would, if the board wished to tax folks that moved out of here, a tax on using those vehicles. They're non-emergency first responders. You would take the Blue Book value of the vehicle, use the IRS's lease value conversion table, and find the value of the vehicle, apply the employee's percentage of how much they're using it to commute to and from work or for other personal miles used during a period, and preferably a signed letter from the employee stating what it was used as for personal needs. Take this calculated amount and add it to their W-2 as a non-cash taxable transaction. Again, I got that from the finance director as far as that recommendation. Because I know one of the trustees asked about that at a recent meeting that we had. I know it's a lot to digest, trustees, and this isn't something that we have to necessarily do today, but I'm certainly willing to work on this. If anybody has any questions, I'm up for hearing your thoughts on this.
It seems a lot of, what's the word? There seems to be a lot of moving parts to that. Why wouldn't we just have people drive to work, use the vehicle while they're at work, and then drive home in their own vehicles?
Oh, you could certainly do that. I mean,
Instead of mileage, gas, tax, personal, not personal. I mean, they're at work, it's work miles, when they're using the vehicle. And just apply it to everybody.
right.
This evolved from the very beginning. The department heads had take-home cars, and the IRS changed the tax code. So police, fire were automatically exempt, assuming on-call requirements. It's the other ones that the IRS made the tax code change, and it's not something that the village board decided to institute a tax. The IRS revised it. So that was where they made the determination that that vehicle was a taxable benefit.
And with regard to what I'm suggesting as parameters here too, again, we got folks that watch these meetings on YouTube. When we look at our AFSCME collective bargaining agreements with regard to residency, and this is from their contracts, it says all employees shall reside within the boundaries comprising of a 25-mile radius from the village, from the Alsip Village Hall prior to the completion of the probationary period. Violations of this would be grounds for termination. What I'm suggesting is, right now, if all of the public work, clerical, everybody that's represented by AFSCME, if they live within that 25-mile radius right now, I'm saying the same would apply to their supervisor to live within that 25-mile radius, because again, if and when, let's say, just for example, I have the building commissioner and the public work superintendent sitting here. When they are ready to retire, somebody, if we want to promote somebody from their department, they're already in that same zone. We're not making it more restrictive for them. Fire department, all firefighters shall reside within the state of Illinois within 6 months the completion of the probationary period. Again, it wouldn't affect their lieutenants because they're already members of this collective bargaining agreement, so they already apply. But when it comes to the chiefs, I think to manage a fire chief and so forth, I'm just recommending as a fairness type of thing as a 25-mile parameter, similar to what the other department heads had. The same thing for the police. But now when you get to the police contract, the sergeants are members of the collective bargaining agreement, but the lieutenants are not. So if if through attrition, again, if you have a lieutenant retire and a sergeant wants to be promoted, you can't deny him that promotion based on residency. So if he's already living, let's say 30 miles away, you have to honor that and stuff then too. And that's why I'm asking it be lifted for the police lieutenants, because they'd have the same opportunities that the fire lieutenants have right now then too, correct?
There's a difference, though. Police lieutenants are appointed, fire lieutenants are not. Fire lieutenants are equivalent to the sergeants of the police department in rank, where they are at.
Understood, but according to Illinois state statute, they only identified the police chiefs as, police and fire chiefs rather, as not having that exemption. In other words, you don't have to exempt those folks. But again, that's, I don't know, Trustee Alsip, I know you've got a history in law enforcement. What do you see even with the town that you're with right now?
Yeah, they're free to live wherever they want.
Yeah. Okay. And then village ordinance, and the last part of this, village ordinance says no residents require, okay, applications for position of police department and members of the police department of the village not need to be residents at the time of the application. Nothing contained in this section shall prevent, like I said before, the village from requiring the police chief and deputy chief from being a resident. And that was just under police, but same thing was said about fire. But again, I'm just trying to promote an equal opportunity here, or a radius for everybody to work with.
And all of this would be within the state of Illinois?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, a lot to digest. And we don't necessarily have to have this on next week's meeting for approval, but I will bring this up in 2 weeks under the next committee meeting for further discussion if anybody's got any other points they want to bring to the table then too. Anything else I need to work on right now, trustees? Anything you want me to look at? No? Okay. All right, thank you. Next was the request for approval to provide 50% of the incremental revenues for 2 tax years for the Firewater Barbecue and Brew at 11650 South Pulaski, with any amounts paid counted toward the $250,000 limit that we allowed in the redevelopment agreement. Basically what that means is the Firewater Barbecue and Brew that was built at 116th and Pulaski, we gave that applicant a 7C tax break that reduces their taxes for up to 5 years to make that development happen. Unfortunately, Cook County is really behind schedule with hearing these application cases right now. Matter of fact, I was on a Zoom call just last week with Cook County on Monday and Wednesday for the application for the gas and wash that went up over, a year and a half ago, right? Well, they're just now hearing that case, and so we just spoke to it. So Cook County's schedule, obviously, is not just Alsip promoting economic development, but all the suburbs are doing similar, and they're really behind schedule. Our attorney, Joe Kankar, is working with the Firewater attorney from Liston and Cineas, and they actually wanted more than the 50. They wanted to go 60-40, and Joe and I said no, at least 50%. So the point being is that we're still going to kind of extend his agreement a little bit because he can't take advantage of this. And we did just see a triennial assessment, so he's paying full boat right now because he can't take advantage of the tax break that we gave him. So
just a question that I have regarding this development project. I know when the RFP was presented, I mean, there were supposed to be 3 businesses that went along. And what's the status with the other 2 spaces?
Well, I'm told they did just put in their application just today for their liquor license, so they're going to get their liquor going. And the 2 businesses next door, I don't really want to use a name. I don't want to disclose to other villages who's coming in, but we do have 2 businesses coming in. Those are starting next. Those are coming up right now then, too. The build-outs are going to start happening with those 2 coming up.
So is there a timeline, like when everything would be completed, or?
Raj, did you get any kind of timeline from him yet?
Not the timeline on that as of yet.
Yeah.
I know we did have discussion Friday, Thursday of last week, and he did have one that was supposed to be in and now a different one. that is looking to move forward with moving in. But I do not have a final at this time.
He came through with he was telling you and I about a major chain name that wants to come in on the third slot, which,
You're more than happy to share that.
absolutely, we can share that off camera.
But the property tax amount is still, I mean, that's already laid out. It's a developed property, so property tax is what the property tax is. Do we know what the dollar amount of this 50% is?
It's a good question.
We do not, because, how was that explained to me that, yeah.
Robert might be able to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert, I didn't know it was you. We've never met. My apologies. Thank you. This is Robert Lautzen with Listen to Cineas, right?
Yeah, and so I've been working with Matt Wheel, who is the property owner at Firewater, and I know this has been a long process, but so what we're looking at is a difference between the certified assessed value, which is, the TIF base value that you start with, at, I think, 13,000, and a net taxes or overall taxes for 2022 taxes payable in 2023 at 80,000. So that difference of 70,000, and then split 35. And then I can answer any other questions about this matter if
So,
anyone else has.
was that kind of sounds correct? I apologize, Robert, you and I really never met before. I know we email all the time, but, so Matt can't take advantage of these tax breaks because of the delay in hearing the case?
So, yeah, and there's kind of two factors on this. The way the RDA was written was, which we understand, the RDA was written in a way that he couldn't start applying for certified eligible expenses until the first year of the burn-off of the 7C, and 7Cs last for 5 years. So he wouldn't have been able to apply for that until not even 2024. We're hoping is the first year. As the mayor spoke to, they're very far behind on all these applications. And I mean, this was submitted in April of 2023, sorry. So that's how far we are behind, that they still have not approved this at the county level yet. We do think it will get approved, but then he would have had to wait until that fourth year to start applying, and due to the tenant build-outs and everything, that's why he's looking to access and get that reimbursement sooner rather than later. 'Cause,
I mean, we had significant delays in this project, not of the village's making.
And?
There's a period at the end of that.
Yeah. And one more time, Robert, what's the impact to the village on this?
so it's 50-50 right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're looking at like 35. Yeah. I will say that one of the delays that the mayor and Roger were very helpful with was there was actually a zoning issue that just came up recently that we had to address too. So I think Matt definitely understands that he has had to clear some hurdles, but now that he has a better understanding of the RDA and the consequences of the RDA, like I believe in 2020 when this was executed, he didn't have an attorney look at this. So I think some of the requests have come a bit, and the movements have been a little all over the place, but now that he has us helping, he seems to have a better direction and understanding of his obligations and the next movements, everything, because he completely understands that the village is under no obligation to amend the RDA.
Right. And, I mean, how many times did we amend the RDA? 4 times?
I don't think we amended.
Amended once.
Yeah, it was just once, yeah.
We delayed it significantly, and that delay, it was my thought that there was amendments made for that, for those timings, because otherwise this thing would have been in effect, if it was started in 2020, it should have taken effect 2021.
Mm-hmm.
4 years, 3 years later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say and speak on that is that there was one amendment, but if the county was a little bit faster, at least we would have had that one less year gap.
Right.
You know.
Right. It's, I'm good with it.
The, Robert, as far as the expansion, as far as I don't need you to speak to the development necessarily, but with the other two, as trustee now Esparza was asking, the other two vendors that are going to come in, those are some, are you part of any of that conversation too?
Yes, I am, and obviously after helping him understand the RDA, we're making sure he understands his leases going forward, and so we are helping on that, and he just wants to have this determined, and then they're going to execute the LOIs.
All right. For the next two vendors that are coming in?
Yeah,
Okay.
which, as you spoke about, is like high-level brand name.
Exactly. No, I was impressed with a couple of the names that he was bringing in, so. All right, thank you very much, Robert. And I'm sorry I didn't recognize you and stuff now, too, so, okay. Next, we had the clerk's report. Clerk Harding.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the February 5th, 2024 board meeting minutes and the presentation of the January 2024 FOIA report. And that is all I had, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We didn't have an engineer's report this evening. Mike, did you have anything from Jeff Agin at all? Or? Okay. Then we'll go to public forum. Anybody in the audience wish to address the board? Dan?
Well, for one thing, Happy New Year, everybody, because I
And you.
haven't been here since the last year. So only had one thing, Mayor. With voting season coming up, early voting and primary, are we going to have, just in case, maybe some extra police on duty during that time, or we're not going to have extra police doing that? Because we're living in uncertain times now. I've never seen times like this since 1968.
Yeah.
God forbid you can remember what happened then.
Certainly, we've been with the police station is almost right where the polling place is at yet too. Should have become a problem, Dan, we can certainly address that immediately and stuff at then too. So, might just be a matter of wait and see, you know. But yeah, where we position the early voting booth is they almost share the wall with the police station in a way yet too. So, if and when that becomes an issue, certainly we'll address it immediately and stuff then too. But you're right, things are getting kind of silly lately and stuff yet too. So
you haven't heard anything, like from the state police for a heads up or nothing?
Madam Clerk, they might reach out to you, no?
Nope.
No, I haven't
have
heard
not
anything either, Dan, no.
Okay.
So, we'll see, but we are scheduled to be an early voting place here too at the same time,
Okay, I know.
okay? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, no worries. We'll go to our standing committee reports then, too. We'll start with Finance and IT. Hey, Robert, unless you wanted to speak to us, you don't have to stay for the meeting if you want. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Okay, good for you. Okay. We'll go to Finance and IT Committee.
Present a list of payroll and accounts payable. Then we have a request to approve an ordinance amending ordinance number 2023-12-1, an ordinance levying the taxes for general corporate purposes for the fiscal year beginning May 1 of 2023 and ending April 30th, 2024 for the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois.
So again, trustees, as I put in the packet for everybody, let me get myself over this real quick. The tax levy that we approved back in December, our attorney Gary Perlman was filing that with the county, and Cook County now requires the attorney to input the data when submitting this ordinance. While inputting the data, Gary found a mathematical error in the summary portion of Section 1 of the ordinance. Moreover, after reviewing the village's 2022 agency tax rate report, Gary found that the ordinance, as approved, provided for an increase of 8% over the 2022 aggregate levy. Due to the typo that he caught, he's recommending, and I recommend, that the village amend that ordinance so the tax year 23 calculation originally showed $15,703,000 $15,703,303, which is an 8.17% increase over the tax year 22. That's what we approved. We verbally said, and what we stand by, is that the tax year 23 levy was supposed to be 4.99%. So in order to amend this ordinance, we're going to reduce that levy to $15,202,186. That's a difference of $501,000. They'll need to be equally reduced in both the police department and fire department. So what was done, let me just get this number up for everybody again here real quick. The typo that happened on this was that originally the police department and fire department equally had $2,318,886 more or less in each account, or that we were appropriating for. That number is going to be reduced to $2,088,000. $2,088,743. So again, it's being equally reduced, so each department is going to see that levy reduced by about $250,000. The impact on that can be picked back up in next year's budget, and just off the top of my head, with $250,000 out of each, it could have represented a new ambulance, or possibly even some squad cars that we talked about getting too. But we can put those back into our next fiscal year budget that starts May 1st. But again, in order to honor what we said at 4.9%, this amendment has to take place. And I'll bring this to the board next week, asking for approval on it then too. What I put in everybody's packet was the finance director's original calculations, where the numbers looked right, but when you added them up, you saw as opposed in the corporate fund, as opposed to it was like 7 points. In the corporate fund, the levy was like 7.6. When you add it up, it was $8.1 million in the corporate fund. So it was 500 over, and that's what I'm talking about here. Any other questions on that, just in case anybody didn't understand? Okay, thank you. Anything else, Trustee Delso?
That's all, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Fire Committee report, Trustee Murphy?
We have continuing discussion on the replacement ladder truck, a discussion to continue based on the last combination meeting. The Chief has a PowerPoint.
All right, so last meeting I sent out a handout with our recommendation of going from a straight ladder to a mid-mount tower ladder with the justification for it. So today is just more of the same conversation. And I'm sorry, Trustee Pearl, let me turn a little bit for you.
Thank you.
Just to further on the conversation, so we also did take one more field trip last Thursday to Cary, Illinois. We looked at another vendor. They have a Sutphin mid-mount aerial tower. So we've looked at a total of 4 different manufacturers, plus got information on us on 2 other ones. So, all right, so this is our current ladder truck, 100-foot straight stick. Again, depending on where we're at, position makes a difference. So if we pull straight in, we're going to lose 35 foot of the ladder itself, just because if we go off the front of the building, this is extended probably about 80 feet to the top of our training tower. Most of our buildings, we have to back into it to use the full extent of the ladder to get all the way out to the ladder. Most of our buildings, like I talked about before, is not necessarily the height, the horizontal reach, because of setbacks, parking lots, anything else you want to throw at it. So Makes it a little bit more difficult to get the truck in some of these areas. We have limited access to it for a lot of different reasons. So again, this is the building directly to the west of the firehouse. We have our ladder set up as well. Mid-mounts, we don't have as many restrictions for the mid-mount. It is really not hinged so much on backing in or pulling in because the ladder is actually, the turntable is at the middle of the vehicle, so it's much easier to position, it's much easier to maneuver. We don't need as much space. And it's much easier what we call scrubbing it. So if we're flowing water, if we have to go from one section to the other, it's much easier to scrub it using the mid-mount than it is from the straight stick, and I'll talk a few more things with that as well. All right, part of the problem with the straight stick is to get up there, you have to climb up there. You can see this is an average firefighter. Not a lot of room at the top. You throw some wind in there and a few other conditions, nighttime conditions, winter conditions, makes it extremely hazardous to go up on the top. As you are at the top of the ladder, you only have about 2.5 feet from where the rungs are to where the handrails are to get up on there as well. So, again, unstable. Now, this firefighter does not have any equipment with him. I'm going to show that in the next couple slides. So this is one firefighter. He's carrying up a New York hook up there. You can see he's got his hand. He's trying to slide onto the railing. The only secure hand he's got right now is his left hand. His right hand is not secure because he's trying to hold that tool at the same time. Plus, walk the steps or walk the rungs going up on there, and the angle of the ladder makes it challenging depending on how low you are. So the lower angle, the more challenge it is. The higher angle, a little bit more. But again, you don't have as much reach in there as well. This is the second firefighter, so he's carrying up a cutoff saw. The cutoff saw weighs about 25 pounds. There's no holding onto the railing with this because you have to carry that bulky saw with you at the same time. So the only thing that is secure in here is going to be his left hand as well as he's trying to go up the steps or up to the rungs as well. On a straight stick, you cannot put two firefighters together. They have to be spaced out about one section apart because of the added weight onto the ladder as well. So you're looking at about a 25-foot span between one firefighter to another firefighter. Here's the fun part, trying to get off a roof and trying to get back on a ladder. These ladders sway. They move up and down, they move left and right, and again, you throw some weather in there, makes it even more challenging. Throw some rain on there, throw some snow on there, and it is a slippery surface because it's all metal that's on there. So again, it's a huge safety factor as we're sending people up and down the ladder up on the tip with it. Nice thing about a basket is all your equipment's in a basket. Whatever you need to go up there, you load it up in a basket before you go. Most of the devices that we see all carry extra lengths of at least 50 foot of hose in there. They carry close-up tools that are in there as well. A couple of towns that we saw actually had a utility box that was behind it. They actually had a couple saws in there as well. Otherwise, you just hand them up to the basket and you're ready to go. You also don't expel any energy. So again, going up the ladder, if anybody ever wants to take a walk up our ladder, I'll be more than happy to put it up somewhere and you guys can walk up and see how much energy you expel with your street clothing on. Now we'll give you 60 pounds more weight with our protective equipment on there and see how it is. Then the third thing is give you a piece of equipment and see what it's like to go up there. So you're going up there for a specific purpose. You're using a lot of energy just getting up to there, carrying equipment up to the top of the ladder. One more, I think I had that picture as well. So if our firefighter up on our straight ladder, if they have to stay up on the ladder to monitor the nozzle so they can aim in position wherever the fire is, they also have to be tied off. That is the only thing that's holding them in place right now. All right, and again, every time you move that nozzle, the ladder also moves with it, up, down, left, and right, that's on there. These are the controls. So you can see the controls are off to the side as well, so besides trying to position yourself on a ladder, now you're trying to figure out how to work in the controls that are below you as well. And this is what it looks like looking down to wherever you're at, wherever you're aiming the nozzle, wherever he's at. The other bad part, if something happens, you really can't move him very quickly on there as well because, again, you have to consider him being on there. you start shifting that ladder on there, his weight's going to be shifting. If he's not ready for it, even though he's tied off on there, he can still slip off the top of the ladder, off to the side of the ladder, if you will. Being in a belt bucket, the nice thing is you run into trouble, you can do a couple things. Either A, you can shield yourself, or B, you can move the ladder, move the bucket on there as well, because you're already in the bucket. You don't have to worry about any of that added weight. Plus, if you're in the bucket, you also wear a harness that's on you as well, and that's required by OSHA. Bucket also has a monitor underneath it, so if things go wrong and it starts getting hot underneath, there's a sprinkler head that runs underneath it. At least it gives them some type of protection in there at the same time. Some of our buildings, so this is Grief Brothers. We've been to Grief Brothers 3 times for roof fires. The most recently was about a year and a half ago, I think sometime in 2022. We were over in this section. It's actually a fan motor that started in this side, got up on the roof. We had to back the ladder into wherever that corner is, and our guys had a hand jack hose up to the ladder to extinguish the roof fire up there as well. I think we had about 50 foot of roof going at the time. The first fire was on the north end of the building. We lost about 300 foot of membrane because they had an old exhaust system that was on there. And the second fire was along the east side of the building, again, for the same thing. Again, each time they had to carry hose lines up there. The roof fire that was along the north side, they actually had to carry 3 different lines to be able to attack the fire. This is Mini Mill. Mini Mill in its highest point is probably equivalent to 6 stories. Several times already, we've already had the ladder up on here because they had fires up on the roof as well, carrying equipment. Probably 10 years ago, we had another fire that was up there, and thank God there was another tower ladder that was there, and we put all the equipment in the bucket of the tower ladder and lowered it back down to the ground again. Again, you're looking at 6 stories, and you're looking at a pretty high angle up there as well. So we've had several fires that we've had to use ladders and towers up on there to get up to the upper floors on there as well. Doubletree. Doubletree was built somewhere around 1970. It was a Best Western. It's 5 stories. That's when they built. That's when they bought the original area tower, which is on our right side. It's an 85-foot Sutphin aerial tower. That was our original truck until the mid-90s when they decided to refurb it and turn it into the straight stick. And then the biggest piece of junk they ever did at the time, which should never have been done like that, but it was. Then in 2000, the ladder failed during UL tests and came crashing down from 100 feet up. Luckily, nobody was injured during that time. So you can see our original tower ladder was a mid-mount tower. Had a bucket on the back as well, again, for a lot of reasons why I'm talking about today. Some other positions, Somerset Apartments right off 127th Street. Again, a lot of not really good accessibility to get some of these areas because of the parking lots that are in there as well, the cars that are in there as well as configuration of the apartment buildings. Same thing, Heritage 1, Woodland Courts, Hydro condos, and then the condos across 119th Street. Again, makes it very hard to get into some of these areas with rear mounts, tower ladder, or straight stick. Positioning is a huge part of that as well. In Woodland Courts, 11920 and 11940 building, which is the first building, I'm sorry, 1900 and 11920, sorry. First building, we had actually every building except the one on 119th and the ones on Millard. So we had 3 buildings burn up in that complex. 11940 and 11960 actually burned twice. But the original fire in 1900 and 1920 was back in 82, 83. Tower ladder made a huge difference on it because they can get to it where the fire was. They can get it from above. They can get it from below. A lot easier for maneuverability as well. So my question is, what would you rather take when you're 60 pounds heavier because of protective equipment, not including the weight of equipment, the stairs or the elevator? Huge, huge difference. If anybody wants to find out, I can grab somebody's tower ladder. I'd be more than happy to get somebody's tower ladder over here, and you guys can try it and look at both. We were looking at replacing our ladder truck. Now's the time to do it right, and we should go with the tower ladder like we originally had. The next closest tower ladder we have is either Tinley Park or Orland to the south or Bedford to the north. That's it. Those are our closest ones to our town right now. Blue Island had a tower ladder. They got rid of it in 2 years. 2 years ago. It was in 1998. They ended up buying the Sutphin straight ladder as a demo unit because their truck was just falling apart. Questions at all?
Well, just to comment, kind of to emphasize your point, I volunteered for Cop on the Roof, and I had to climb up the building, and then, and I climbed back down. It was completely different, just worrying about falling, and, and I was just in gym shoes and a polo at the time. So I appreciate the presentation, and I see the points that you're making.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else?
Chief, how many hours are on that stick ladder right now?
I have no idea off the top of my head. Most of it's idle time.
How many miles on the truck?
I don't know off the top of my head.
How many? Is there any data to show like how often the ladder's deployed?
No, we don't track that.
Why didn't the village buy another tower when they retired the last one when it broke?
Part of it was due to the insurance. So the truck that failed, it was a refurbished truck. So the chassis itself was actually the Sutphin chassis. When they sent it out to bid, there was only one bidder, and that was Miracle in France. They were out of University Park. They're the only ones that bid onto it, so they decided to convert it to a straight ladder for whatever reason. It was problematic from the beginning. I was here on a part-time. I was a part-time firefighter when they did that. The thing had problems left and right throughout its career. Then, like I said, in 2000, when they were doing the service testing, you had it 100 feet up in the air. Something was wrong with one of the settings, and this cable actually came off the spool, and it crashed 100 feet into that. So part of it was the insurance. The village made very good on the insurance on it because the insurance company didn't really know how to classify it. So I want to say the village received like $250,000 or $260,000 insurance from it. And just to from what I remember from being part of the committee is they don't want to expel too much more of that. So our current truck that we bought in 2002 was $573,000, so another $250,000. And part of it also, one person on the committee really wanted to stay with Seagrave. If we would have spec'd it out differently, somebody else would have got in there with the tower ladder part of it. So there were some challenges with that back then.
And you told me, and I'll share with the board, you and I were talking about this on Friday, I think, but we do not need additional personnel to manage this truck.
It's no different than what we do now.
So 2 people can go out in this truck the same way they do on a pumper right now?
If it goes to a fire, it's going out with 4 people. Unless the ambulance is out, then it'll go out with 2. Otherwise, there's 4
That's
people
what
that
I'm
goes
saying,
on
right.
it. Yep.
So like the ambulance would meet this truck there, or if there was a fire that this thing was assigned to, you're not taking the ambulance, you're taking this truck with all 4
Correct.
people.
Yeah, if there's a fire in our town and there's all 4 people at Station 2, 4 people are going on the truck.
All right.
Anything else? Questions, comments?
Chief, how many of those buildings that you showed in the overheads, how many are not sprinklered?
They're sprinklered, but they're also very unique because there's a lot of the areas that the sprinklers don't control, like anything that's on the roof. No roof areas are sprinklered. And Grief Brothers, all 3 fires were on the roof. We've had several fires inside, and we can control that inside, but it's the exterior portions with a lot of these industrial buildings. All of them have air. I mean, you look at all of our industrial buildings, they all have some type of air handler system. If they do some of the manufacturing, they have some type of exhaust system that's on there. That's where we normally see our problems. They all have membrane roofs that they take off burning. They go pretty good for a while.
Sure. And what's required, if the bucket's out there, and you might have answered this, Mayor, if the bucket is in service, how many people are required to be on that rig?
Whatever we require. We send out 4 on a fire call.
Okay.
All right, and like I said, if the ambulance is out on an ambulance call, they'll still send 2. And once the ambulance is up, the ambulance will meet it over there. Or if manpower allows from Station 1, depends on what the use is.
We were told in one of the last meetings that the price difference between a bucket and a stick is approximately $500,000.
3 to 5, yes.
Okay. What would be the mid-mount? How much more would a mid-mount be to that?
A mid-mount's probably right around 2.3 and an average, depending on the manufacturer itself.
2.3
million
with a
bucket.
With a bucket.
Yep. I know. I can't think of it. Somebody just north of us not that long ago got a new mid-mount. They paid 2.5, but there's a lot of bells and whistles on there. I can't think of it. I know Tinley just bought a brand new, well, they just ordered a straight stick, and there's 1.8 without a pump on it. It's about $2 million with the pump on it. So again, it's going to vary from manufacturer a little bit to a little bit.
Trustees, any more questions for the chief on the truck?
Just one question that comes to mind is in regards to rescue. With the bucket, you put a person that you're rescuing in with the fire.
Correct.
And then whereas with the ladder,
You got to get them down the ladder.
And if someone has restricted mobility.
Makes it a lot more difficult, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it's much easier to put somebody, even if you have to put them in a soaks basket or a backboard to get them on the basket itself and lower it down than it is to try to get them down the ladder.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chief, if you were to give, I mean, let's just say we give every fire district, if you were to ask, let me put it that way, any fire district or fire department, if you were to ask them, of course, if you gave them the option, what would they choose? 100% they would all choose the bucket.
No,
So
you have a lot of them that would use a straight stick, or they might use a smaller straight stick because, again, either height or horizontal restrictions. Like Oak Lawn has a 75-foot straight stick. Chicago Ridge does. Chicago Ridge went from a tower later to a straight stick, and so did Oak Lawn.
So I guess my next question would be, why do some villages go with a stick instead of the bucket?
What their uses are. You got to look at us. And I keep saying this all the time, we're a very unique town because we're mostly industrial, commercial versus residential. A lot of those towns around us are all residential. So their requirements are a little bit differently than ours is. Mm-hmm. And there's some towns that have ladder trucks that I have no idea why they have ladder trucks. They don't need them, but they have them.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
Anything else?
I guess that's good for right now. Trustee Murphy at number 2.
Next, upcoming retirements and replacement staff. Chief Szynski will provide a proposed plan of hiring and promotions due to upcoming retirements.
All right. This is kind of changed from my original presentation based on what I know today. So, Fire Police Commission gave a test last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. They had 4 people that took the written test. I was informed today that only 2 are eligible for the oral exam for whatever reason. I don't know. They don't share that with me. The orals are tomorrow, and then the preliminary list will be out after that. So my original goal, and I think I mentioned this before, was once we had a list established, is hire all the people that we know are leaving. We have one current vacancy on one shift that we haven't filled, And then we have 3 people that are retiring, 2 people that turn in letters, 1 more lieutenant I know that will be leaving, 1 that's a question mark right now. So 3 for sure that are leaving, plus the 1 vacancy. So my original goal was to hire all 4 at one time, train them all at the same time, and then as people are leaving, they would become part of that shift and just have a temporary few over like we talked about. That's changed. I don't know what's going to happen after tomorrow, what's going to be on the list, but they're going to have to run the list again right away. I don't know how long that's going to take. I've been totally excluded from any of that, so I don't know what their plan is or what they plan on doing.
So it could be 2 or it could be none.
Could be 2, it could be none, correct. Yep. Yeah, news isn't good. As far as the promotion, so Lieutenant Huffenagel is planning on leaving June 26th. I think that was his last day. My plan would be for Sean McNamee, who's number 1 on the list, would be promoted on that following Monday. I think I have the dates that were on there, whatever the date the board meeting was. And then he would start on the following shift when Lieutenant Huffenagel is no longer on shift. So that's my plan with that. My plan for the firefighters kind of backfired a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. It's up to the Fire and Police Commission whenever they do another list on there as well. So, but if we can get 2 right away, at least I'd like to train 2 and hire 1 for the vacancy and then 1 for John Cordelette when he'll be the first one to leave on May 6th. So we got his letter.
John Corlett is on May 6th?
Correct. Yeah, it will be his last day.
And Huffnagel was going the month after?
Yep, he's going June 26th, I believe, and then Greg Bruder will be August, sometime in August, whatever the date was. I get the letter, 2 letters I got for sure. And we have 1 of the lieutenants. He keeps changing, so I don't know what's going on with him.
All right.
So, not holding my breath. But we also have to do a 40-hour day class for a lieutenant's training, so we're going to put 2 of them through it in case the other lieutenant does retire. So that'll be sometime in March.
Any questions from anyone? Next, we have a discussion to fill the part-time fire prevention secretary vacancy. Chief Szynski will discuss the vacancy to fill.
Yes, so now that we took care of the administrative assistant's position, now we need to fill the fire prevention secretary's position. I believe, I think in December, Mayor Ryan mentioned about any time going forward is we'll make it a 20-hour, and part asked me, I think that's what was talked about. So I believe I think I sent everybody the job description. Did talk to Tony a couple times. He thought it was good. It looked fine to him. It's pretty much what was done before when we hired originally back in 2018. The only thing that I added was redundancy for payroll, submitting bills, and medical records. So in case something happens, at least we have those 3 important functions. So I'd like to move forward and go forward with that and try to replace that person as well.
Chief, when Danielle was in this role as the temp person in that same position, what was she doing, 15 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay. Is that's still what you're shooting for? Is somebody working 15 hours?
I know at the one meeting you said so we don't have these issues that everybody would move to 20 hours. Any part-time person would move to 20 hours going forward. Any new people.
Well, we can't just, again, this is why it was a temp job to begin with. I think it was a matter of evaluating that position to see, what ended up being a 5-year engagement.
Right.
That she was here as a temp.
Right. Well, part of it is because that starting pay was $10, and it didn't make sense that somebody's going to make $10 an hour and join a union and pay union dues. That made no sense whatsoever. Now that through the ASME contract, the first year, this year right now, that starting pay is $18 an hour, so it's more palatable to join a union and be part of the union as well. And that will solve a lot of the issues that we had in the past going back and forth with salaries and everything else.
Maybe, but we can't just arbitrarily just create that position, because now I believe this is going to trigger, it's going to be a union position like you said. So we have to have a meeting if the board decides to go that direction to create this position as a part-time position, we also need to meet with ASME to negotiate that. We can't just,
Right.
we can't just introduce it.
If not, should still at least be paid what the ASME people are making at $18 an hour. There's no reason, it's silly to be less. If you're coming somebody as an ASME person, if you're making $18, this position should be not any different. It's not worth any less.
You know, it's one thing to have a job description, but, you know what, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it. Was it in the packet?
Yeah,
It's in the
send it out.
packet.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'll go
It
back.
says compensation in the packet is $14
No,
an hour.
that was the original one that we put together when we were advertising the position back in 2018. I just left that in there.
So it's not 14, it's 18?
It'd be 18, that's what the starting salary is for a part-time clerical person right now, and they're asking me.
Why wouldn't it be a temp position anymore?
Well, because if you go to 20 hours a week, that is considered a part-time ASME.
Why would we go to 20 instead of 15, which was what it's been?
Because we're going to fight over the salaries again, which is ridiculous. That person should not be paid any less than any other part-time person in this village.
But
And
it's
that's what was
temporary-
happening.
But it's a temporary
It's
position.
not temporary. They're permanent. Been here for 5 years. I don't know how that is temporary.
That's what it was
And-
labeled as.
Should never been labeled as that. It was never temporary. It was always a permanent person.
That was a conversation and negotiation with the union.
Exactly, and I think that's what the employee wanted originally, too. I
No,
know-
no. That person wasn't even hired yet. And that's what my argument was, is I was like, how am I going to sell somebody to make $10 an hour and pay union dues?
That's what all the clerks up here are making as part-time clerks. back
Not no
in the
more.
day,
Now they're starting out at
$10.
$18 an hour, so it's more palatable at $18 paying union dues than $10 at 15 hours. It made no sense whatsoever.
Well,
I'll leave it at 15, but the salary should match whatever ASME makes. Call it whatever you want to call it, part-time, temporary, whatever.
It would get benefits too, wouldn't they?
No.
No?
It's under 29 hours. That was the conversation. That was back in December, that going forward, any new employee would be 20 hours to avoid some of the issues we've gone through.
Any other questions about that? Next is a motion to approve 2 public education coordinators to attend the Illinois Fire Inspectors Association's annual conference in East Peoria, Illinois, from March 20th through the 22nd at a cost of approximately $1,500. This conference has been budgeted for.
Yeah, every year we send our 2 pub ed coordinators down to East Peoria for the conference, the annual conference. They bring ideas back to help improve our community risk reduction programs, public education programs. So, same thing as always, nothing different. They always bring back good information. And they're both very active with our public education programs as well, so.
Are these 2 folks on shift, Chief?
They're shift personnel, yes, so we end up covering them.
So there's
Right, shift.
overtime included with that?
Possibly, depending on how many people are on, yes. If it drops them below 8, yes. And we do the same thing every year.
And we still have money in the budget for this?
For the conferences, yes.
Okay. And who are the firefighters that are attending?
Lieutenant Rick Kraus and then firefighter Charlie Harding.
Anybody have any other questions? That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to interrupt here because we have an attorney sitting here. Robert, you were here just to speak to planning and zoning? Who's, trustee Navis,
Yeah.
where is it?
Which item was it, Mayor?
This-
Number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a discussion of case number 2024-01-Z-100 for a rezoning request for P1 public land to I-2 industrial for development of 41,000 plus square feet of square foot industrial building for the property located at 5800 West 116th Street, Alsip, Illinois, 60803. A public hearing was held Wednesday, January 24th, 2024, by the Planning and Zoning Commission with a vote of 5-0 in favor of.
So, trustees, if you're familiar with this particular parcel, this is, Roger, what, about 2.5 acres, something like that, back there? 3 acres? And this is that used to be a tree-lined field that was behind the ball hockey at 115th Street. And I've seen the draft for the structure they want to put on there, and this is actually just going, it's not necessarily just trucking, this is going to be like a company that would go in there. Robert, do they have a tenant for this yet, too?
No, they don't have a tenant, but the client has had experience doing 2 separate construction projects, one in Romeoville and the other in Melrose Park, where the tenant ended up being a logistics company. So that's what he's kind of thinking is going to go here to, is a...
Because there's only going to be 4 doors on this, and the 4 doors are actually behind the building, so you won't even see these at the front of it. And this property is directly east of the Worth Township Highway Department that's right there yet, too. So, let's put it this way, this land has basically never been on the books before. And again, we're looking to rezone this from public land to obviously industrial property now then, too. It actually be recognized on our tax rolls. So Robert's here to speak to it if anybody has any questions, but the gist I got from is, I know the original thought was logistics, but it may become just a typical business of some type, right?
Yeah, so I think in the last meeting there was some, I think he was thinking of trucking, and maybe there was trucking and logistics were getting kind of warped in there together. But he's really thinking of the future tenant is going to need more building space than they are the parking space, and he only needs the 4 parking spaces, and they won't be fit for trucks or trailers. So it would be for not for trucking anymore, for a logistics company and a single tenant user with, I think it's like 30,000 square foot office space.
Yeah, because there's no room for trucks there at all, with the exception of the docks, which I kind of like. There was room for like office personnel and stuff like that. I love the design, that it's a great looking building and all that kind of thing, but I just want to let everybody know it's not just necessarily like we're so accustomed to keep hearing the word trucks all the time. It's not trucks. I'd like to look at more of a business atmosphere that's going to go in there, that's all.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. And there's only one access point too, which would make it harder for trucking. And this is his experience is with these logistics companies, single tenant users, and not with industrial, not with to the level of trucking and people who would require that. So it has not been built for those requirements as shown in the plan.
Okay. Trustees, anybody have any questions for Robert on this property?
Yes, Mayor. Robert, the site plan that I have before me for the 41,000 square foot warehouse that you are proposing, now I see 6 loading docks, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and are they going to be facing east?
Yes, they would be facing east.
Okay. Okay. Basically, it's like almost like an L-shaped building. Okay. So that is correct. That is the current newest version that you guys are going with.
Yeah, I believe an earlier version was sent with less square footage, somewhere in the
30,000.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most recent version.
With only
yeah.
4 decks.
Okay. Because I read the minutes, at the planning and zoning meeting, and one of the biggest concerns was the residents that live just to the northwest of that property. There was questions asked about if trucks would be going in and out during the night and so forth. And your response or their response was?
I believe it's the same response. It's just that he does not expect that to be the case. And we could do a traffic study too if the village wanted that. Maybe somewhere down the line too. But he does not expect right now, and based off his previous developments, for there to be an issue with the trucks or automobiles coming at night.
Which residents, where are their homes over there?
There's the park lawn where they sold the property.
Right.
So there's residents that are living on.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, they sold them the property and stuff here, too. Okay.
And those are residents with special needs, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. In those minutes, Roger, how many residents did you state that were approximately living there? It seemed like there was quite a few.
I believe it was under 150.
That's a lot. So, but yeah, very good. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Robert. I'm sorry, again, we had a lot of presentations.
Okay,
I try to give folks, especially you're here on the clock for your client and stuff then too, but appreciate you being here, and certainly we'll add this to, and more so appreciate the recommendation from the Plan Commission that was unanimous. So we'll put this on the agenda asking for approval next week on this, okay? So you have
Great,
something to
thank
report
you.
to your client, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks much. Trustee Navis-Bar, as long as we were talking, why don't you go ahead and finish your report on our planning and zoning?
Okay. Item number 1, the Planning Commission will hold a public hearing for case number 2024-02-S-100 on Wednesday, 2/14/2024 at 7:30 p.m. in the Village Hall Boardroom to hear an application for a special use truck repair facility located at 4627-33 West 120th Street, Alsip, Illinois. Any parties wishing to be heard will be given an opportunity to do so. Item number 2, the presentation of a list of licenses dated January 29th, 2024 through February 9th, 2024. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll take us back to where I cut off. The next agenda item was letter C, Police and Traffic Safety. Trustee Dalzell?
Nothing for this evening's meeting, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. We'll go next on Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
I have a request for approval to advertise and fill a vacant position for a full-time Class 2 operator in the Public Works Department. Second item is the presentation. Oh, we already did the
We did
presentation,
that,
so that's all I have, sir.
Mike, are we down just one person or two now? Just one. Okay, that's right. We got the other gentleman just came in, right? Did you hire him yet, or?
I think we're just waiting on background check.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sewer and Water Report, Trustee Navis-Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the Water Department, January 2024 monthly activity report. And I also have another item that was brought to my attention before the meeting regarding the Village of Robbins water main break. I'll just read this memo for the record. The Water Department is being confronted with a request from Cook County Emergency Management to assist a disaster need at 119th and Maple Street, where Blue Island meets Marionette Park. But the disaster belongs to Robbins as their water main burst at the location under a set of railroad tracks. The Village of Robbins has requested assistance from Cook County, who is now being tasked with the engineering and costs for the repairs. Cook County hired Cal City Plumbing to fix the break, as well as the tap from Alsip to Robbins. Robbins purchases their water supply directly from Chicago. Mayor Ryan visited the site on Saturday, and Chicago is visibly losing a lot of water and revenues due to the amount of water loss. The cost of the repairs are approximately $250,000, and water is now being pumped into a nearby cemetery and further to the storm sewer system near Kedzie. Cook County has requested the Village of Alsip assist the need to provide water to Robbins while this 4-day repair takes place. Alsip Water Commissioner Dan Triben has evaluated the system and scenario and found that Alsip water main runs parallel with Robbins water main on Kedzie in front of Fountain Hills Golf Course, where the lines are approximately 10 feet apart from each other. Commissioner Triben confirmed Robbins uses approximately 1 million gallons of water per day. The Village of Alsip will invoice the Village of Robbins $8.40 per 1,000 gallons used. This will total approximately $36,000 to $40,000 for 4 days of Alsip supplying water. Mayor Ryan spoke with Alsip Attorney Joe Kankar, and he'll draft an IGA intergovernmental agreement so the village may recover this cost. That's all I have. If I would have known, I would have had to read all this. I would have taken my, I have Invisalign, so it's so hard to speak sometimes. So
exactly.
Hopefully I was clear.
No, you're perfect. Yeah, welcome to my world. I draft that, but it's like,
We couldn't even tell.
yeah, how about it? No, this is really a situation where Dan Tribe and I have been working on this since last Thursday, and right now Cook County, I talked to Dan about it today, Cook County's engineers still don't have like a plan in place, and I went out there on Saturday, and I was telling Roger and this morning too, is, man, literally, they are losing a lot of Chicago water. They buy water directly from Chicago, and the water now is being pumped into Mount Hope Cemetery, where Cal City had to dig a pit for the water to fall into, just so the pumps can grab the water and push it to a sewer and stuff, so you don't flood the cemetery completely.
Can't they cap it?
Huh?
Why can't they cap it?
Under the railroad tracks. So what they're going to do is, that vault is over 20 feet long. You have to actually cut the pipe on both sides, take the whole thing out of the sleeve to fix it, and then put the whole thing back in again to put it back together again. They're saying this will take almost 4 days to do.
Wow.
And there's so much engineering. And then, again, like when we had over, how about it, Mike, that's like a year or two ago now, when we had that sanitary sewer break along the railroad tracks, how much work was that just to get permits from the railroad to work on their stuff? And that's an active set of railroad tracks that they're going with yet too. And this is just the bureaucracy of what you're seeing in order to access these type of systems and stuff yet too. And I went over there Saturday. They've got these. I'm telling you what, just to open your window. This was in Thursday's newspaper, and there's residents moving out of the nearby homes because now their basements are being affected with the water and all that kind of thing yet too. And just to roll down your window at the location, your eyes are burning from the fumes coming off the pumps that are running out there and stuff yet too. And they're gas pumps that are run. They've got these 6-inch lines that are almost a half a mile long that go from that location almost all the way to the next set of tracks near Kedzie, and they're pumping the water into a sewer over there and stuff, and a storm sewer that's over there. It's bad. And I'm telling you, when you see the volume of water, it's bad.
So that was going to be my question with the repair. How would that impact any Alsip residents?
I mean, like our service?
Yeah.
It won't. And so they're saying, we're going to put a gate valve in that would, and at no cost to us, but it would service that so we can turn it on and off. Dan went over Friday, and he inspected Robbins pump facilities to see if it can manage the volume that we're going to push toward them, because we don't know that they're getting the same volume right now. And he says it'll handle it, but I don't want to get into specifics, but they have an older system. So we got to make sure it can handle the volume and so forth. But I talked to Joe Kankar, and my thing is, obviously we need to get an intergovernmental agreement so that we all understand that somebody's going to be liable for our supply that's going to go to these to the next to our village and stuff then too. So what I'd like to do, trustees, at this time is request at least a consensus from the board to allow this work to move forward or not, unless anybody has any reasons that they don't want to support this, because this is something that's it's moving right now, and 100%. I want to share this with everybody so you understand what we're doing here.
And there's nothing that we have to deal with regarding our allotment with the city of Chicago.
No, Dan confirmed. Joe asked the same question, trustee. No, we are. There's no penalty to us by supplying water to them. That's on us just to recoup whatever we're going to, whatever supply we're giving away. That's all. In other words, we're not taking one of their customers. They're already a customer, but they need redundancy because they're going to cut this line off, and the only other way to get water to that town is from us at this point right now then, too. So, Madam Clerk, I'd ask, could you take a consensus authorizing the mayor to have an intergovernmental agreement drafted to obligate Robbins to reimburse us for the monies for water usage at $8.40 per 1,000 gallons. I'll give you this too.
Okay. Thank you.
Renee. Yeah.
Okay. Roll call number 1 for consensus, trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin is absent. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navas Barza.
Yes.
Trustee Peretta.
Yes.
You have your consensus.
Thank you very much. Here, Renee, that's what I said.
I'll just take notes and I'll
What
give it
trustee
back.
Navas Barza said, and that's the other right there.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, trustees. Building and Health report, trustee Peretta.
Thank you, Mayor. No report this evening.
Okay, thank you. Human Resource and Insurance, trustee Murphy.
No report tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Economic Development, trustee Navas Barza.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Village Properties Committee, trustee Navas Barza, will be you.
Request for approval to go out to bid for 2024 Ford F-350.
Roger, I'm guessing, is that for you?
That's for the Heritage Complex. It was budgeted for, and then we would be getting rid of the 09 truck once we're in possession.
Which one's the 09? Is that the one with the flatbed that's at? Roger, you grab a mic, please, just so folks know what we're talking about.
That's the 09 Ford F-350 that is currently at Heritage 1. It has a stainless steel spreader on the back. It's got the hydraulic units, which the two newer ones have electric units instead.
So is that a pickup, Roger, or is that the one with the flatbed I see sometimes around there?
That's the one with the flatbed is over at Heritage 2. The aluminum body rusted out completely, which is why we put that on it.
Okay. So, again, we don't have anything, oh, I'm sorry, you're asking a request to go out to bid.
Correct.
And I apologize, I didn't look, do you have a spec in the,
I do have a spec. I'd be more than happy to email it to everybody.
okay.
It's basically the same thing, Ford F-350, XLT 4x4, single rear wheel pickup truck with a snowplow package,
You
Just
want
a-
single wheel,
single rear wheel.
single rear wheel? Why wouldn't you have four wheel?
It's going to be a 4x4, but it's
Oh.
not a dually.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then, standard cab?
I've actually spec'd it as a Super Crew, which is basically what I'm currently driving.
So that's just an extended cab, right? You don't
Correct.
have
It's the
four doors in your
four
truck?
4 doors.
You have 4 doors in your
Yes.
truck?
It's not the large 4 doors.
Okay.
Suicide
Just
doors,
gives you a
like-
little bit of leg room instead of the 2-door.
Okay.
like the suicide doors, kind of?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't even think they made those anymore.
No, that's what I got. Mine's older. I'm driving a 98, but that's the same thing. Where you just have the little flipper door on the back. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. If you can send that spec to everybody.
I
Roger,
definitely
so we
will.
can take a look, see where that's at.
Are you pervy to color?
It is red. It will, or what I've spec'd is red.
Uh-huh. You don't need it wrapped, do you?
No,
Yeah,
it'll be ordered to the color
okay.
and
Just
specifications.
making sure.
You know, can I ask Superintendent Freder, when you bought that white Dodge that we got from Henderson Equipment, that was a demo, Mike, you bought, right? Yeah, I mean, I'd like to at least, Raj, I'd like to at least compare in aside from just ordering like a new 24 pickup, if we can get her, and we can see if there's anything, like even if you talk to Henderson, if there's something like that available,
I've got specs for both the Ford F-350 and a Dodge 3500. I wasn't, particular. I mean, I can easily change either or.
Okay.
I mean, I can put it out to where we're bidding both and get prices on both.
Yeah, because these trucks aren't going very far at all. I mean, it's not like it's a beauty
I
contest.
think I've got 26 or 27,000 miles on it,
On an
on that
09.
vehicle. But
Yeah.
I mean, the bed is completely rotted. There's a lot of work that's going to be coming up on it. That's going to be due if we do keep it.
And again, only because we're the landlord over there. I don't want to come off as being frugal, but we could be sometimes yet too. Is there anything of value, Mike? I know you just went to auction with your trucks. Is there any truck that that's got some great value to it that might be able to be utilized as a supportive entity for the Heritage Apartments?
I don't have anything right now.
No? Okay.
So when you say the lining or the bed is rotted out, so the truck, the base of it, the bed?
The bed of the truck is rotting. It has 4 holes in it that are at least 3.5 to 5 inches in diameter.
Could you have a lining put on top, like to replace?
It currently has a Rhino liner in it. It originally had a Ford truck bed liner in it. We scratched it probably 4 or 5 years ago and put a Rhino liner on it, which is why I spec'd the Rhino liner this time. Unfortunately, what I found is the aluminum, they switched it to an aluminum body, and it does not last because the 2009 has lasted a lot longer than the 2013 that we have. The 2013 bed lasted about 3.5 years, and it completely rusted out, which is why we put the bed on the back of it. So it rusts from basically from the underside.
Okay.
Raj, just a ballpark. I've actually been looking at used pickups for myself. The one I'm driving now is the first one I've ever owned. I kind of like it, but ballpark. What's a 1 ton with a plow and all that kind of thing?
I've spec'd it out, and I've got it at 110 with all the equipment on it.
Okay.
I currently am helping my son look for basically the same thing. He was looking at 105 just for the truck. Under state purchase, I would think that we're going to be right around 105 with all the equipment that's being requested. 105 to 110 is what I've expected out, or what I'm expecting the bids to come in at.
So this truck's 15 years old. It's got 26,000 miles on it. Wow.
As long as you're holding, all bowling balls, it'll be fine.
Yeah. No, I'm just, I'm certainly, the thing with the Heritage Apartments, we love those buildings. You guys are doing a great job, and Kenny's doing a great job managing them as well, too. But we've been taking some serious hits on the property insurance the last couple of years. And that's what I'm getting at is, it's like, and I appreciate we got no vacancy right now there either, do we? Right.
Very few.
Yeah. I'm just like a vehicle that doesn't rack up that many miles. I'm just looking for options. I mean, do we spend $110,000?
We utilize it to drive back and forth to get materials and so on and so forth.
I'm just saying that if we found a beautiful 1 ton that was a year or 2 old, and let's say, for instance, spent half of that on it or something like that,
A few of the Ford dealers and Dodge dealers that I've been dealing with, they said, we can work our best to order it. You may have to take what's available.
I get it, but that's where I'm going. The reason for my conversation is everything I've heard is you're actually paying sticker or more to buy these kind of things because they're in such demand. And again, for something that doesn't rack up like a ton of miles, I'd rather get something that's slightly broken in. I don't think you're buying. I don't think you're really inheriting that many problems with today's technology and stuff.
Honestly, there's a lot of issues with the engines. From 19 to 22, there are a lot of issues with the engines. The only one that really stands out that has not had any problems was the 6.7 from Ford and the Cummins 6.7. I have not spec'd a diesel engine only because it's louder, it's echoing throughout both the complexes when you're plowing, which is why I spec'd out a naturally aspirated engine.
Right.
But everyone is having issues, whether it's Dodge, Ford, GM, they're all having issues to meet the new standards with the engines, which is why I would highly recommend going with a brand-new truck, because at least you're getting a 3-year, 36,000, if not a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty on the drivetrain. When you're buying a year-old vehicle, you don't know if it's got 22,000 miles, and you only got 36,000.
Well, I get it.
Really not worth it.
That truck, that '09 you got, that's doing 2,000 miles, less than 2,000 miles a year. That's crazy. You know, I mean, it's wonderful. We've had it for 15 years, but I get it. It sits outside in the elements all the time, and it's getting the best of it and stuff yet, too. So, all right. Yeah, Raj, get that spec out to everybody.
I'll
so we can
forward
take a
it to
look.
everybody.
All right. Next, we have the ordinance and legislation. Trustee Parada.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a request for approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip annexing the property located at 5025 West 111th Street pursuant to 65 ILCS 5/7-1-13 into the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. This property belongs to the Alsip Citgo gas station, and if I may, I would like to provide the public some information on why this request of annexation is being presented. Everybody assumes that this parcel was already in the village and is already zoned on the zoning map, but unfortunately it is not, and therefore the village does not receive any real estate tax or sales taxes, or more importantly, motor fuel taxes. It is estimated that additional revenue from this annexation is probably in the range of $50,000 to $100,000 per year. The village attorney sent out all notices, so now it is just a matter of conducting the public hearing and passing the ordinance. After that, the village attorneys will follow through with following the ordinance at the county and state so they can update their records. The village will have to follow up with licensing and payments due under the motor vehicle fuel tax, which is collected and paid directly to the village. The state will also make sure that the sales tax is paid in the future to the village, but that will probably take approximately 6 months to implement. And that's all I have, Mayor.
So,
Isn't this the same place that we gave a liquor license to, and they went and did gaming, and
oh, sure, they all do. And, you know, so I'm doing an audit right now on our maps with our attorney, Vince Kankar, and we came across this and found out, much like we just did about a year ago when we realized that Critchett Towing wasn't actually in the village and stuff yet, too. So, yeah, I shared what Trustee Parada just said. Yeah, I shared with them that I'm not going to go, if people can FOIA the numbers if they wish, I'm not going to do these on camera, but there's a substantial difference, let's say, in what an average gas station pays in taxes and whatnot, and this particular establishment hasn't done that, and certainly for the same reasons. It's financial stuff here, too, so.
what about all these companies that we've had to sit there and run these compliance audits? Sales tax.
He's not done with his. That's kind of what tipped me on this yet, too, because Azavar is doing an MFT audit right now, and that's kind of what it tipped me to go into this one here. But, yeah, because that one's not done yet. But, no, we found out, as I provided Trustee Parada, that when you look at the property tax bill, this particular establishment is paying taxes into the school system. It is paying taxes into the parks and everybody else, but the village has received nothing. So they are going to be welcomed now into the village of Alsip. So, thank you very much. Did anybody have any?
Are they amicable to this, or is this a forced annexation?
I'm going to say this is. We gave them notice. I had the attorney send them notice. Did anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications they wanted to share? How about any unfinished business? Any new business? Can I get a motion then to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to adjourn this meeting at 9:21 PM. Thank you, everybody, for being with us this evening. Enjoy the rest of your night.